In October 2016, the 20 most popular creators on Vine made Twitter an offer. They would stay on the platform. They would continue making the short-form video content that had made Vine a cultural phenomenon. They would not leave for the competitors who were actively recruiting them. In exchange, they wanted three things: a content moderation team to clean up the platform, better analytics tools, and payments to the top creators, the people whose content was driving the platform's traffic, of approximately $1.2 million each per year. Twitter declined. Within 3 months, the announcement came. Vine would be shut down. The app that had invented the short-form video format, the format that would go on to define TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts, was being discontinued. The 20 creators who had made the offer did what any rational person would do. They left. They went to YouTube, to Instagram, to the new platform from China that was just beginning to expand into Western markets. That platform was TikTok. It was already building its creator monetization program. By 2020, TikTok had 689 million monthly active users. By 2022, it had surpassed Google as the most visited website on the internet. Twitter had invented the format, then walked away from it, then watched someone else build a trillion-dollar industry on top of the idea Twitter had abandoned. This is how that happened. Vine was founded in June 2012 by Dom Hoffman, Rus Yusupov, and Colin Kroll. The concept was elegantly simple: a social media platform built entirely around 6-second looping videos. Not 15 seconds, not 30, 6. Short enough to watch without thinking, short enough to loop before you noticed it had started again, short enough to make every second count. The founding team had been working on the app for less than 6 months when Twitter acquired it in October 2012, before it had even launched publicly. The acquisition price was $30 million. Twitter was preparing for enormous growth and was investing aggressively in adjacent platforms. Vine seemed like a perfect fit, a visual, mobile-first companion to Twitter's text-based social graph. Vine launched publicly in January 2013. Within weeks, it was the most downloaded free app in the Apple App Store. The format was immediately addictive. The 6-second constraint was not a limitation. It was a creative pressure that produced extraordinary inventiveness. Comedians found that 6 seconds was exactly long enough for a perfect setup and punchline. Musicians found ways to layer entire sonic ideas into loops. Filmmakers found that the constraint demanded visual storytelling efficiency they had never needed before. A new kind of creator emerged, the Vine star. People who had never been on television, who had no management and no industry connections, who were simply funny or talented or strange in exactly the right way for 6 seconds. At its peak, Vine was not just an app. It was a cultural language. The platform produced a generation of internet creators who would go on to define the next decade of entertainment. Logan Paul, King Bach, Shawn Mendes, Lele Pons. These were people who built massive audiences on Vine before they had record deals or movie roles or brand partnerships. The memes that emerged from Vine entered mainstream culture in ways that were difficult to track and impossible to contain. Phrases, sounds, visual gags, they originated on Vine and spread everywhere. The 6-second loop was perfectly engineered for sharing and repetition in ways that longer content was not. By 2015, Vine had 200 million active users. It was reaching an audience that was almost entirely under 25. It was the first platform to truly crack short-form video at scale. Not YouTube clips, not Facebook videos, but something natively short, natively mobile, and natively looping. The creators who built audiences on Vine were also building something more valuable than follower counts. They were demonstrating that ordinary people, with nothing but a phone and an idea, could build entertainment careers from zero. This was genuinely new. This was the creator economy in its earliest form. And Twitter, which owned the platform generating all of this cultural momentum, was struggling to figure out what to do with it. Twitter's relationship with Vine was, from almost the beginning, complicated by a fundamental question: how do you make money from a platform that people use for free? The answer that almost every successful platform eventually found was the creator economy, the ecosystem where platforms pay the people who create content, who attract audiences, who generate the advertising revenue that pays for everything. Twitter never implemented a meaningful creator payment system for Vine. This was not a secret failing. The top Vine creators were aware of it. They were watching YouTube's partner program pay out billions to creators. They were watching Instagram begin building brand partnership infrastructure. They were watching Snapchat experiment with creator funds. On Vine, the most followed accounts in the world, people with audiences of millions, whose content drove the platform's traffic, received nothing directly from the platform. They had to negotiate their own brand deals outside of any platform infrastructure, using follower counts as their only leverage. Meanwhile, the creators were being approached by competitors. Musical.ly, the Chinese short video app that would later become TikTok, was actively recruiting Vine stars with offers of money, features, and support. Twitter's internal debate about whether to build a creator monetization program for Vine lasted for years. The decision that emerged was effectively no decision. The program was discussed, modeled, and shelved. The creators noticed. In October 2016, a group of Vine's 20 biggest creators arranged a meeting with Twitter executives. The creators had prepared. They came with data showing their audience sizes, their engagement rates, and their economic value to the platform. They came with a specific and reasonable ask: content moderation improvements, better analytics, and a creator payment program with top-tier creators receiving approximately $1.2 million annually. This was not an extravagant demand. The YouTube Partner Program had, by 2016, paid out more than $2 billion to creators. The Vine creators were not asking Twitter to match YouTube. They were asking for something, anything, that acknowledged their economic contribution to the platform. Twitter's response, according to accounts from people in the room, was polite and non-committal. The executives listened. They expressed interest. They made no promises. In the weeks that followed, no offer came, no program was announced, no money arrived. The creators had given Twitter a choice: invest in the people making your platform valuable, or watch them leave. Twitter chose to watch them leave. On October 27, 2016, just days after the creator meeting, Twitter announced that it was shutting down Vine. The shutdown was framed as a cost-cutting measure. Twitter, which had been under financial pressure for years, was laying off 9% of its global workforce. Vine was identified as one of several non-core products that would be discontinued. The company said it would preserve the website so that existing Vine content could be accessed, though the app itself would be shut down. The announcement landed on the platform's 200 million users like a sudden death notice. Vine creators began posting farewell loops. The community, which had existed in its own particular cultural idiom for 4 years, began its mourning process in 6-second increments. On January 17, 2017, the Vine app was formally discontinued. The $30 million Twitter had paid to acquire Vine in 2012 had become one of the most analyzed acquisitions in tech history, not for what it achieved, but for what it failed to become. For the price of paying 20 creators $1.2 million each, $24 million total, Twitter could have kept the platform's most valuable assets in place, bought time to build a monetization model, and potentially retained its position in the short-form video market. Instead, it spent nothing, saved nothing, and lost everything. The creators who left Vine did not disappear. They took their audiences with them. The short-form video format they had pioneered did not disappear either. It was, if anything, more compelling to investors and platform builders in 2017 than it had been in 2013, because Vine had demonstrated, at scale, that the format worked. Musical.ly, which had been recruiting Vine creators throughout 2016, merged with TikTok in 2018. The combined platform launched with a creator fund, an algorithm specifically designed to surface new talent, and a mobile-first short-form video format that was, in almost every structural respect, Vine with more seconds and more money. The Vine creators who moved to TikTok found their audiences waiting for them, or found new audiences faster than they had expected. The format they had helped create was now being served by a platform that understood what they were worth. TikTok grew at a speed that had no precedent in social media history. 200 million users by late 2018, 500 million by 2019, 1 billion by 2020. The platform that filled the void Vine left behind became one of the most powerful cultural forces in the world. Twitter, meanwhile, spent the following years attempting to build its own short-form video product. None of them approached what Vine had been. The cost of shutting down Vine is impossible to calculate precisely, but some numbers are instructive. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, was valued at approximately $220 billion in 2021. The short-form video advertising market, the market Vine invented, was worth over $50 billion annually by 2023. Twitter paid $30 million to buy Vine. It declined to spend $24 million to keep its top creators. The format those creators had built was subsequently used to generate hundreds of billions of dollars in value by someone else. The Vine story is sometimes told as a cautionary tale about platform economics, or about the difficulty of monetizing social media, or about the specific failure of Twitter's leadership. All of these framings are correct, but underneath them is a simpler observation. Vine had the creators had the audiences were the platform. When Twitter decided that the people creating the content were too expensive to pay, it misidentified what it actually owned. It thought it owned an app. It owned something much more valuable than an app, a community of genuinely talented people who had found an audience and were looking for a home. Those people needed somewhere to go. TikTok was waiting. The 6-second loop is gone. Everything that came from it is still here,